This podcast is not intended to and does not create a client-therapist relationship between the AllPro Mindset hosts, Jason Frabel or Dr. Aaron Sapio, and any other person. Although tips for incorporating mindfulness interventions into your daily life are offered, this podcast is not a group therapy session and is not intended to take the place of therapeutic intervention.
On AllPro Mindset, where we interview professionals, explore positive outlooks, and make connections to our own lives. Last week, we spoke with Queenie Green, a pastor, an author, and a singer. She spoke passionately about her faith and following her mission. As I reflected on this episode, themes have repeated themselves. Gratitude for the good things, taking time to rest, rejuvenate, and recharge, being aware or mindful of yourself and your actions, and being vulnerable to criticism, both criticism from yourself and from others. These attributes have helped Queenie become a successful professional. Coach, what were some of the things that you reflected on from last week?
Well, Doc, like yourself, I did reflect on many of the things that she was speaking to. And, from her perspective, we talk a lot about the why and having a sense of purpose. And you could hear clearly her connection to her religious, affiliation, and how passionate she was about that. And one component that we had focused on during the episode was the self-compassion, or the idea of self-compassion, and giving ourselves this permission to just be, vulnerable, to be human. I think sometimes we lose sight of that, and we feel that everything has to be perfect all the time, or just go the right way or meet our expectations. And the reality is, if we look at our own lives and are self-aware, that we realize even on a day-to-day basis that it doesn't always work out that way. And the theme for this evening, and as we incorporate it in, is humility. And my thoughts are, without some sense of humility, self-compassion is almost, not capable of happening. There's this kind of impasse. So in order to get to that environment or that space, you have to have a certain degree of humility, And I was reading a lot of different religions and about their perspectives on humility. And, the one that stood out to me the most was a perspective of appreciation of oneself. So while, we strive from day to day to develop and grow as human beings and as spouses and coaches and mentors and just individuals, in relationships, that it's this recognition that we have talents, that we have skills, we follow certain values or have certain virtues, and it's not this sense of meekness, right, or self-deprecation, but this recognition that oneself is, placed into something bigger than themselves, and I don't think it has to necessarily connect to a religion. Right? But there is this recognition. I mean, all you have to do is walk outside, go into nature, and really see the bigger picture, that we're connected on some level to something much bigger, and that when we understand that, it does create a sense of humility. It really, from my perspective, and this is just my own personal strivings and interests, in getting out to nature, when I'm outside and I'm hiking and doing things out in nature, it really does put things in perspective for me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, as you're talking about this, it's making me think. This past weekend, I was trained in level 1 Reiki. on Sunday morning, and it was really a neat process. And so basically Reiki is the idea that you're channeling this universal life force energy, and you're taking it from nature, the world, whatever, and you're just channeling it toward a person who is in need. So, I mean, it might be good for stress reduction. I mean, even some of the hospitals that I visited within the last couple of years, they offer it. You can actually call a Reiki specialist to come up to your room, and because it's healing energy, you're not actually touching the person, and it's supposed to be considered an enhancement to anything. It's never a replacement for medical treatment. It's never a replacement even for religion or therapy or anything like that. It's an enhancement to all of those things. And so that's why I was really curious about it. And I figured, let me check out this, get trained in it, go through the attunement process myself. And I really did enjoy it. And it brings a lot of peace. But what was interesting was the woman who trained me really stressed that as a Reiki specialist, you're a conduit. Nothing that happens for the individual is because of you. It's because you assisted and you allowed that universal life force. And some people call it chi, and some people call it Holy Spirit, and some people call it mana. It's just this universal life energy, and you're just helping to channel it to that person. That your ego has to stay at the door. And then that makes me think, even as a therapist, even as a friend, and I'm sure you can speak to it as a coach. All of us are here to assist others on their path in some way, but any change that's made for anybody is up to them. It's not up to the rest of us, And I think that's really important to bear in mind all the time. Like even through this show, like we're hoping that our listeners are gaining something from it. But we're not making life changes. We're not changing anything for anybody. We're trying to just be a channel of maybe thinking differently, or, opening eyes to a new way, or, just being a channel.
Yeah, I agree, Doc. And, humility, without entering in with that mindset, I don't think change happens at all.
Right.
So whether, we're working as a counselor, coach, therapist, mentor, teacher, that putting ourselves and placing ourselves there and recognizing that, having a sense of appreciation for other people and the importance of other people, and also understanding that it really comes down to them, right? Here's the information. We're kind of putting it at your fingertips. And here it is. But the reality is when I wake up in the morning, to a new day, it is my choice, and those choices happen continually throughout our day, and week and month and years, and there's always an opportunity to redirect. So, in order for that to happen, again, and I keep kind of circling back, there's this feeling that we get with this self-compassion and this sense of humility, and it's not. Again, that I'm relinquishing control. It's just an understanding that I'm tied into something significantly greater than myself, and allowing myself those opportunities as they come into my life and come into our lives, that we're ready for them. Because I think if we're not, and we're not open to that there's probably a lot of opportunities that we miss.
Oh, definitely.
Or signs we don't see.
Right.
So therein lies the significance of allowing ourselves to do that and be humbled by just how great and really just magnificent things are that are out there in the world, and to be attuned to them and allow ourselves the opportunity to achieve our full potential. Because I think that's what we're striving for. I had an opportunity to see you two not too long ago, about a week and a half ago, and I was listening to an interview prior, and he was talking about just his philosophy, and he thought one thing that he mentioned, actually it was interesting because his daughter was interviewing him. It was an interview a few years ago, but one thing that he mentioned was, I guess, this feeling or sense that it would be invaluable, right, for us as human beings to not achieve our full potential. He thinks that's the number one obstacle. His focus is, how do I create something that allows others and moves people to move to their full potential in their lives, and whether it comes through his music or his interactions with other people. And I just think that he understood and understands this idea of something higher. And I know that he's kind of tied into religion, but extends beyond that. And it'll be interesting to listen to this evening's guest and his thoughts and feelings about humility.
Just to share a little bit of research on this, Krauss and colleagues from 2015, they had an article in the Journal of Positive Psychology where they found that people who are humble, it buffers life stressors and enhances their well-being. And another researcher, and again, we put these in our show notes on our website, from Wayman, Bauer, and Slyascan. I have a hard time with names. Also from 2015, they say that the quiet ego, aka humility, is correlated with a number of related characteristics such as self-compassion, as you were saying, self-determination, authenticity, and self-transcendence. And that quiet ego was also a distinct predictor of outcomes such as resilience, coping, efficacy, and indices of well-being that could aid investigations of human happiness. So, I mean, definitely there is power in being humble, that it can be linked to these other areas of well-being, and it can help buffer the stressors.
Yeah, I agree, Doc. And again, it's recognizing that that we're giving ourselves permission to go there. Again, tied into this vulnerability. And with each of these components, I see with self-compassion, I see with humility, with vulnerability, that when we move and allow ourselves in that space, I think opportunities and things come into our lives that contribute, all right, to the development of our growth and our potential. And once we're there, I think it's a space where reason kind of exits, and I think this sense of hope or faith or whatever you want to call it starts to enter. And some people refer to it as intuition. And I think that's where the greatness happens, things that unexpectedly happen, and we've spoken to different guests, and they talk about different things, crossroads that they come to in their lives. And, it's it's a leap of faith, I guess, if that's how you want to refer to it. But that's what happens. You get there, you've kind of taken on these characteristics, and allow yourself to be present and ready and open for opportunity. And that's where I think the growth happens. I think it's when we get locked into this sense of, I know enough, I'm there, there's nothing more for me. And that's where we become stagnant. That's where we become stuck. Those what we refer to in counseling as an impasse. So what we're trying to do is kind of really just open people up. And, humility is certainly a value or a virtue to incorporate into your own life, on a day-to-day basis. And from that, it's, becomes fertile ground for a lot of, not a lot, but opportunity. I think that's what we're striving for, is to create more opportunities in our lives and continue to develop and create something better, in our own lives and the lives of other people around us. So again, it's it'll be interesting, like I said, to hear this evening's guest and his perspective and his path and journey and where he's ended up.
So our guest tonight is Joe Reo. Joe is a father, husband, a home brewer, and a professional musician turned teacher. Upon graduating college in 2003, Joe set out on a professional recording and touring career with the band Hidden in Plain View. They signed to Drive Through Records until 2007 when the group disbanded. The band officially released 2 EPs, DIY, and 1 EP and 2 LPs, DTR. Hidden in Plain View also enjoyed an excessive touring career nationally and internationally. From there, Joe spent a year working in the industry as a manager and show promoter, but decided to begin the transition to become an educator early in 2008. In 2010, he began teaching in the city of Philadelphia. He is currently still teaching in Philadelphia at the middle school and elementary level. Joe, welcome to our show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're so happy that you were able to join us for a while tonight. I mean, you have such a...
Yeah, I'm excited. I was just saying, I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
That's great. You've had such a varied career. So you went from being a professional singer-musician to being a teacher. So we're so interested in the overall journey, but let's start with the musical one. So how did you get your start as a professional musician?
Oh, wow. It depends how far I go back. It's a good question. I was in bands in high school, which I guess is what really fostered the love for playing. But we started this band in 2000, and I was in college. I was a sophomore in college, and I was actually attending Kutztown University out in PA, which was about 2 hours driving distance from my home. So I would be making the trek a lot back and forth for band practices. And, we really did that local band thing for about 2 years. And when I say local band, I mean, we played local Jersey shows. We might travel to Connecticut. We might travel to PA or, within that kind of the Northeast area. And that's really just kind of where we learned, where we got our feet and just kind of learned how to be not just musicians, but professional, I guess what's the word I'm trying to say? Showmen, professional performers. And we did that for like 2 years. We saved our money. We put out some EPs.
Oh, we're losing you, Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Can you also hear me?
No, a little bit better. Can you move back a little bit more to where you were?
Could you tell I was walking around?
There you go. There you go. That's the spot.
Yeah, you should have me now. I'm you should definitely have me now. So I'll stay on this side of the house.
Okay.
So I was saying, we were playing out. We were meeting people. We were lucky and fortunate enough to meet some people in the music industry that had a record label. We met a couple other people, and as we were turned down, we were also kind of also turned on by other people, which really believed in us. Eventually, we caught the ear of Drive-Thru Records. They were a label that was out in California, in Sherman Oaks. They were a subsidiary of MCA Records at the time, which then I guess merged with Geffen later on when we joined up. So it really started in 2000, but got serious around 2002, 2003, as I was graduating college. I was graduating college with a degree in communications and a minor in PR. But right as I was getting my diploma, we were getting signed. So as
amazing.
As these negotiations were taking place, I got to get my diploma. I got to walk. Funny story was, my parents, they came to graduation, and as soon as I got my diploma, we took a couple of pictures, and they had to drive me to Philadelphia because we had a show at the North Star Bar, actually with a band called Fall Out Boy, which I don't know if you've heard of them, but yeah, they're quite a large band right now. So, yeah.
How about
that?
So
I don't know. It's a really long story. I mean, but it really just kind of started with us just not knowing what we were doing, and just having fun and trying our hardest to be successful. That we knew what we wanted to do, so we just really kept trying and writing songs. And as we got better, I think that was really where the difference came in. Was we learned how to write songs better, how to record ourselves better, how we wanted to sound, not just how we thought we should sound. And then as we went on tour and learned from other bands we were playing with, we really need to fix that. Oh, wow, we should really think about a backdrop. That'll make us look professional. All these things that just, as a young adult, trying to have fun, you don't really think about, but as you come across those things and realize you need to have them to continue doing what you're doing, you add them as best you can. So yeah, I mean, the music piece, that was an important part of my professional, my life period. Really taught me a lot.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Joe. I'm super excited to have you. We're super excited to have you and hear your story. So a question that I have for you is, as I was reading Hidden in Plain View, can you tell us a little bit about how that name came to be?
It's not very exciting. It's
something regarding a supermarket, or
I was also in college. I was also in a band, and I was working at a grocery store. And I was a grocery clerk. I was stocking shelves at the time, and we were just starting this band, and we weren't sure what we wanted to name the band. It's terrible. The band's original name was, you can get this is terrible, Jersey Nonsense. Okay, so not only did we have to put our home state in the name, but it was. So I'm standing there, and I'm actually like stacking these shelves, and a woman asked me, I don't know what it was exactly, but she asked me where something was, and I was like, oh, it's right there. And she goes, oh, Hidden in Plain View, and I was like, oh well, that sounds kind of cool. I took that back to band practice, and then that became the name.
Yeah,
that's
sorry to let you down there.
No. I think it's more than we were talking a little bit earlier about opportunity and signs and things that present themselves, and this evening's focus is partly on humility, and I think to be in that space and to have that openness, for some reason it's stuck, and I think many times things are right there in front of us. If only we would just kind of open our eyes, and allow ourselves to see them. I think what an awesome name, and I think it's an interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. I think that's interesting what you say there. It's really easy to say, but it's a really hard thing to do, isn't it? To kind of keep your mind open all the time when these challenges face you all the time that can kind of consume you. And wow, yeah. But that's an interesting point. I gotta feel like there's a lot I could say on that, but
yeah,
I wouldn't know where to start.
Hidden in plain, right there it is, but yet we just don't see it. And I think that's for our listeners and those we have opportunities to cross paths with. I think that's a big component of what we're trying to do. Is sometimes we get in our own way, and are not giving ourselves permission to kind of to be vulnerable or just humble enough to listen to others, and their perspective, and to be open to that. So I think what a really cool name.
Mm-hmm. Now,
thank you.
How or what was the pivotal moment that changed your path from musician to teacher?
It wasn't easy. It's funny. I always kind of wanted to be a teacher. The band really, like I said before, it was just kind of a hobby we really wanted to keep doing. I didn't know I wanted to be a teacher when I was in my undergrad. Or I did, but I didn't really, I don't know, maybe the whole going to school for 4 years to be a teacher didn't really attract me to it. So it was after the band had split up. When we split up in 2007, was a real tough breakup. And I can give you the backstory on that first. That we had a pretty successful first full length that was doing quite well, and and so it was doing well. And it was time, that record cycle was over. It was time for us to start a new record cycle, which really just needed to be excuse me 1 second. Hold on a second. I got my little guy just came to say hi to me. Totally took my mind off what I was trying to say. He's with me right now. So we had these, these expectations that we needed to meet, and that really proved to be very difficult for the band. We had tickets to sell and numbers of records to sell. And all of a sudden, all these things mattered that didn't matter on the first cycle because we were just too focused on writing music and having fun. Mm-hmm. So when those things kind of came, we didn't really know exactly how to handle it. So the band ended up splitting up, calling it creative differences. Like you said in my little bio, I really wanted to stay in the music industry, but the reason why I wanted to stay in the music industry was because I really kind of wanted to start something new, but didn't know how to start all over. Mm-hmm. Quickly realized the music industry is just not a place to be. It's a very cutthroat, difficult place to make money and be successful. And so I thought, wow, okay, here I am, 27 years old. If I'm going to make a change, what's it going to be? And the only thing that came to my mind was teaching. I didn't have any way of paying for going back to school. I knew I would need to. So I started researching certification programs and not alone master's programs, but also certification programs, ways that I could just get my certificate and get into the classroom and start being a teacher. Well, it was tough. I applied for Teach for America. I also applied for a similar program in Philadelphia that was called the New Teacher Project, very similar to Teach for America. I don't know if I should explain what that is.
Go ahead.
It was a program that I think was put in place by the Clintons, where a math major or a literacy major could just immediately get what's called an emergency certificate and go teach children while they're taking the courses to fulfill their certificate that they're working on. Okay. So it would have been like a foot in the door for me to start teaching and just working on the side at my degree and my certificate. Oh, I didn't make the cut. Wasn't even accepted for those programs. So, now I'm really down. I'm like trying to figure this out. And I just kind of started thinking outside the box. Like, how am I going to get my certificate in a very inexpensive way or a very, or a way, or for free. So I ended up looking at some jobs that were posted at a couple local universities in Philadelphia. Universities usually give tuition remission, either partial or full, for their employees. So I got a job at Drexel University, actually within the School of Education, which is the college that certifies teachers. And I was just doing clerical stuff. I was advising, I was working on their budgets and their term master schedule, but it allowed me to take courses to become a teacher for free. And it was fantastic because not only was I able to study, but like I said, I was working in the college amongst amazing professional educators who were so supportive of me. I was very up and honest of what I wanted to do and that I wouldn't be there forever. I wasn't going to make Drexel my career. And they totally grabbed me and thought it was fantastic and helped me. So, it really just was me really trying to find any angle that would make it work. I kind of, when I figured, because when I left the music industry, I had nothing. I had no money. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. It was really kind of an easy time for me to be down on myself. I didn't really have anything else but change. I needed to really embrace it, and I did, which worked out great. I'm still very close with all the people at Drexel. They're still very a part of my professional journey now. So did that in a long
yeah, and I love that. I love that you said, you were really down and you had no other choice but to embrace change, because that is not a mindset that everybody naturally goes toward. But I mean, that really speaks a lot about how you think about things and your innovation, and then to be able to kind of find an avenue to carve out what you needed, to go and work at a university so that you could get the classes. I mean, I think that was really very smart move.
Yeah.
I was lucky. I went to my interview for that job, and I was wearing a members only jacket. I know it was the jacket I used to wear on stage all the time. Just I thought nothing of it. It's normal to me, which is funny. Even now as a teacher, I hate wearing a tie. I really hate. And I think it's just the musician in me. I'd love to just be teaching in like black jeans,
Right.
It'd be so comfortable. But no, I was going to say, to your point that I didn't really know that was in me. I'm very blessed. I just feel like that's in me, that change piece, or that I've witnessed it so I can recognize when I need it. Well, I was at Drexel, and there was a dean there. He's a great, great man. And we were talking, and he said, if you want to be successful, just don't fail. And I took...
That's good advice.
And I took that, right? It's so, but in a way it's before he said this to me. He's like, no, what I mean is, when you begin something, before you begin it, you need to begin it with the attitude that you will not fail.
Mm-hmm.
And that rang to me because that's what I did in my band. And I didn't know I was doing it at the time. And that's what I needed to do in my professional career moving forward. Sure, I'm going to hit hurdles. Sure, you can call those hurdles failures. But if I really don't believe I'm going to fail, then I won't fail, And that was something that I really do still live with today. I actually had to tell myself that at the end of this last school year. It was a difficult school year, but you just gotta keep making that change work for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious. When you spoke about being down, and down in relation to letting go of the band and transitioning to something else, or were you speaking to something else? I don't.
Well, it's kind of more broad, but yes to that. Definitely. I finally saw myself as a successful musician. I loved what I did. Mm-hmm. And to have to kind of say goodbye to that was really difficult. I kind of had to turn my back on it completely at that point. But no, I was more just kind of down because I didn't really know what anything was really certain at the time. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? That just kind of uncertainty of, okay, well, this might work, this might not work. Mm-hmm. The Drexel move definitely helped me put my feet on the ground. Okay, good. My girlfriend isn't going to kick me out because I'm a loser. And, I can stay in Philly now. I've got a job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. How did you know? Yeah. How did you know? I guess what I'm trying to get to is that letting go, I guess, on some level of the music piece, because it sounds like music was very important to you, but you reached a point and recognizing something was changing, and whether it was in you or with the band, and that some other type of change had to occur. So you had to move to some space of, again, we're talking about humility, but, and last week we spoke about self-compassion, which is, hey, I give myself permission to be human, and I'm here, and maybe this isn't going the way that I anticipated, or I'm not where I necessarily want to be, but I have to be kind of open and in a space where I can be vulnerable, right? I can let others in, and humble enough to recognize that, I need change, or change is happening now, and it's inevitable. And how am I going to move from here forward?
It was I was fortunate. I'm just been very lucky to have very good friends. And a lot of the people that I started working with at Drexel were just great friends to me. I was just very lucky to be able to almost just replace that empty or that fear, with some love, with some support. Like I said, I had my girlfriend, and my wife, who was 100% supportive. And it was even more difficult there too, because she worked in the music industry. And she actually still does work in the music industry. She's a booking agent and a manager. So, her clients are bands. And, so it was even hard for me to kind of be like, oh yeah, I used to do that, and or go with her to a show for one of her clients that were playing in town. And, kind of be the guy that used to do it and doesn't do it anymore. That was tough. But like I said, I really had new things to look forward to support me, that I didn't feel completely left out, like I was missing out. I knew I was working towards something, and I believed in myself that I was working towards something. And then any naysayers or any kind of whatever, that didn't bother me anymore. I think I lived through that kind of thing, just being in a band and having the internet. You just kind of have to believe that, you're gonna turn heads, you're gonna prove people wrong, or you're really doing it for yourself anyway. So as long as you're making those gains and those short goals, you're doing it. And for me, it was every time I finished my grad degree with a 3.96 GPA. Okay, so for me, that's humongous. Okay, I got 1 A-. So it would have been a 4.0 if it wasn't for that A-. And this is the guy that, I got through my undergrad on a 2.9. Like I just really didn't think I was a smart person. That I was smart enough, I can get through. But, all of a sudden, just to really have it all in my own hands and take it all the control to myself, I just really made sure everything was right. Everything was correct. I liked what I was doing. I was enjoying the learning I was doing. And it was really neat. So for me, there were rewards along the way, and there was support along the way that I think made it a lot easier.
And we talk a lot about balance on this show. So at this point now, you are a teacher full-time. You're also a father and a husband. But occasionally, I understand you still travel with your band. So how do you manage all of that? What's like your schedule like these days?
I'm a Libra, so I got it all down naturally. True. The band isn't as active as it once was. I mean, there was a time when we were full time. If we weren't on tour, we were writing. If we weren't writing, we were recording. We were always doing something. I can't do that these days, and so and neither can the other guys. The other guys have jobs too. But I've been fortunate as far as to squeeze the band in. I'll tackle that one first. We're just really selective on what we do. It's got to be worth it. It needs to be fun. And when I say worth it, I mean fun. Doesn't need to be lucrative. As long as we're not, taking money or, out of our bank accounts to do it, we're pretty happy. And we feel fortunate for that. So fun. And then there's availability. Recently, actually, out of all the touring and shows that we've done since we got back together in 2013, I've only had to miss 2 days of work,
wow.
In which I just took personal days. Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm a teacher. I have that schedule. So we did a UK tour on spring break once. I have the summer. We did some stuff on other 3-day weekends. So that part's not too tough. I have the greatest wife in the world. She's another one. She owns her own business in the music industry, booking and managing bands. And she has been able to, not go to the office and work from home on the days where I'm gone doing band practice or recording, or anything of the sort. So, we just always had each other's back with that.
That's great.
But my number one is being a dad. Really it is. One of the best moments ever was just when my daughter and my son got to see me play. And, they were old enough toddlers where I was pretty positive that this would be a memory for them. And now I'm still playing. So, and as they're getting older, they're still seeing it. But as far as the balance goes, I think I don't know how I do it. it's all important.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just kind of how I set my priority. It's been difficult right now. I can tell you that I've been trying to get up to North Jersey to record some vocals on a song that we have written that's just basically waiting for me. And not that I haven't made the time, but it just hasn't lined up with, with their time, my bandmates' time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been difficult. It's not always easy. It's quite difficult sometimes. Being a teacher during the school year is very time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just at work from, 8 o'clock till 3 o'clock. You have a lot of other duties, planning and prep. And, I'm available to my students' parents in the evening. Usually, 7 o'clock I shut it off, but, I could be getting pulled in a lot of different directions. I think I'm just very good at just accepting things as they come. For example, my son just walked in, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm not going to hide him. He's my son.
Right.
I'm not going to pretend he's not there. So, and that he needs me. So I figured that out and I go with the flow. I guess that's really, I never really think about it. It's a good question though, Aaron, and I'm sorry I can't answer it.
No, I think you just did a nice job of answering it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't feel like I'm explaining it well enough. I don't know. I just kind of go with the flow. Like I said, I have support. That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is the greatest human in the world. I really couldn't do it without her, and she knows it.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. I'm wondering how much of your experience as a musician impacts the students that you teach on a day-to-day basis.
I think in a lot of different ways it might, and maybe just kind of some subtle ways. I don't know. You're not the first person to ask me that, so I feel kind of prepared to respond to it. But for one, I really do enjoy. The best part of teaching is being with your class and actually instructing and teaching. And I really don't get to do that for longer than 15 minutes. Then before I'm breaking out and trying, into small groups and helping them with their math. I teach math and science.
Mm-hmm.
So it's direct instruction of me, them kind of lecture and them watching me. I always tell my students that you can tell when I'm in a good mood. You can tell when things are working because I'm dancing around the room, and I am. Like I'm literally on stage, and maybe it's captivating to them because I'm having such a good time teaching them math, or just showing them what I know about this skill. So I think there's that, and I think that I really do. So the kind of the relationship between the crowd and the performer is just kind of similar. I kind of carry that into the relationship between my class and the teacher. The other thing is too, one thing I learned from the band was that the band was my ticket. I didn't really think I was good at many things. I wanted to play football. I stunk at football. I wanted to play baseball. I stunk at baseball. And even instruments, like I'm pretty good. I can hold my own, but I'm nothing great. My real gift was, I think, singing and performing. And I tell that to my students, my ticket was this. When they find out about it by sometime middle of the school year, they Google me and they figured it out. I don't tell them, but when they do, I tell them that, it was my ticket. You need a ticket, whether it's art or whether it's math or whether it's whatever it is that gets you up and out of Philadelphia to go see the world and experience new things. You need to find your ticket. That's your job in school right now, is to do well and find your ticket. So I try to give them that. I took that away from the band, and I try to give young people that, especially in that middle school age. Many of them, I think, are willing to listen to that and try and kind of get what that means. So there's that too, as well as I think, just music, period. When students want to talk to me about music, we could just talk about music, we could go on about that for a long time.
Yeah.
But
so you sound
did that answer your question?
It sounds like you're still doing your love, which is performing. Right? It's just different.
I think so.
Different context, but performing nonetheless. And the impact.
I love working with children.
Yeah,
I just love working with children.
I'm thinking you have an awesome opportunity to spread the just don't fail philosophy.
Yeah, I hope you're sharing that message with your students. I mean, you have a lot of insight that would be so beneficial to anyone, and especially middle school age students. I think that's wonderful to be able to share with them the wisdom that you've gained through all of these experiences.
Well, yeah. Thank you for saying that. I try. I really try. And when you have the responsibility of these children in your hands, and it's not just about math and reading or science, they really are human beings, and they look up to you, and you know this. And they need you in so many different ways than just their teacher. And it's impossible to not know it. And I really grab that. I really fuel on that when I have those moments with my students, when I mean more to them than just a teacher. That's really what keeps me coming back. That really keeps me through the tough times. So if I can give them that, and if they can take it, and even if they just take it in their own way and adapt it to their lives, then that really is what makes it all worth it for me. It's a great job. It's a great job. And I love these kids. And every year at the end, I have to say goodbye to them. And it's hard to know that, I'm not going to see them. Some of them find me on socials, and I make it a rule that I won't accept them on any social network until after they've graduated.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it's safe.
So one final question that we have for you is, so you're a home brewer. So what do you brew at home? Like, what is the flavor of the beer? What do you like to get going?
I've been brewing since 2009. I can brew just about any beer. I've brewed beers that I've aged on oak, like a dark porter or a stout. I've brewed IPAs. It's a hobby. And I haven't had a chance to do it recently, but I actually just stopped at the homebrew store today. I've got the ingredients downstairs, so I'm going to brew probably on Thursday.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm just going to make a pale ale. It was something that as a hobby I started in 2009, and I stunk at it. I was pretty bad at it. But as I got better and got more gear, and now I'm kind of just a nerdy guy that makes his own beer. I brew. It's funny, and it's like in that science piece. I want to tell my students about the process of brewing beer, and it's just not appropriate, but it's so cool.
Right.
And I think they would totally think it's neat.
The process.
Right. Yeah. You have to save that one.
That's great.
But it's it's a great hobby, and if your listeners are into it, it's a great. I tell people it's that great balance between science and art. There's rules you got to follow. There's definite science you have to follow, but the rest of it is just art. And there's happy mistakes, and there's, and I brew 5 gallons at a time, so that's like about 2 cases of beer. It's nothing huge. I don't have any huge setup. I just kind of consistently honed in on 5 gallons and getting those 5 gallons to be right. And I'm pretty good at it now. And the best thing is, and this is the best thing, is that, when that really good batch is done, and, you're never going to taste it again, because it's really hard to make the same beer twice. Really hard. So, it's kind of just a thrill of a little geeky hobby, but thanks for asking about it.
Yeah, that's fun.
Man, that's great.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show tonight. You've given us a lot to think about. We've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it as well. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so we're gonna let you go now. And listeners, hang tight. We're gonna reflect on this conversation.
Go, 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 believe it's every
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for tuning into our show. You're listening to Doc and Coach on AllPro Mindset. We just interviewed Joe Reo from Hidden in Plain View. He is a musician turned teacher who had a lot to share with us about tonight's topic, which is humility, but also a lot to share about keep on going even when there's challenges in your way and embracing change. What did you think, Coach?
Well, what I really liked about him finishing up with the interview, he talked about the art and science of his philosophy, kind of in life. I know that he was relating it to his home brew, but I think that him embracing that kind of worldview in his own life is probably what allowed him the opportunity to transition from musician into education and the teaching profession.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, right, we have this right-brained ideal side, and then we have the left brain, which tends to be more analytic and language-oriented, more what I would relate to this practical side. So it's like this balancing of this ideal versus practical. And I think on some level, each of us may struggle, with that in our own lives, to create this sense of balance. How do I allow myself the opportunity to be open and creative and in that space, but at the same time, practical, the day-to-day things that, have to get done, or things that have to get done. So I think he was able to kind of navigate through that in his own life and to make that transition and to be open to change. Like I said, just allow him a success story. I think that he talked about, being a performer in the band, but he's still a performer to this day, but just in a different context,
Mm-hmm.
And he's giving that and providing that message to his students on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so much there. And I really liked the dean, one could say the mentor, who said, the best way to succeed is to not fail. That really rings in my ears, because I think that, so we've talked about fear of failure as hindering us from doing something that we want to do. But whereas if you just take the idea out of the equation altogether and just say, I'm going to be successful, and just don't even acknowledge that fear is a part of the process. And even when Joe was explaining that, he said the challenges that he faced, he said, I guess they could be called failures, but that's not even part of his vocabulary. It seems like it's just taken completely out of the equation, which I think is really great. And, I had been told about Joe, my husband knows him, and he went to school up in North Jersey, and Joe Reo was described as being a very humble and gracious man, and I think that is absolutely, it rings true throughout his whole interview. You can even kind of hear how he talked about his changes and his challenges and down points, but he has a huge fan base. So it's right. He really doesn't seem to have been taken away by the success that he certainly, his band is still playing, he tours, that's a really successful band. So I think, and he loves it and he enjoys it. And I think that he definitely embraces the concept of humility and being humble.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think the change happens without embracing that philosophy and that approach to life. And again, and I'm going to go back to the conversation that he had with the mentor, the dean, and just don't fail. And I think that it relates to having the end in mind, right? So we're looking ahead and being in touch and in tune with the why of what we're doing, in our own lives. And with that comes a certain responsibility, right? And kind of seeing things as we want them to be, and then working from there, right? So we get this vision and we say, hey, here's where I want to go. Here's what I want to be. This is what I want to do. But with that, we have to be in tune again to the why of what we're doing. And when we're in tune with that, then it allows us to slowly and steadily move forward in our lives on a day-to-day basis and over a long period of time, and keeps fueling us to get to where we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether that's with errors or mistakes or failures or however you want to define it, it's with the recognition and the understanding that it is a process, and with slow and steady, right, can win the race.
Mm-hmm.
And but I don't think that happens unless you have a certain sense of humility.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm pressing too hard, or I have pride, or my ego or gets in the way, it might be, well, I've been doing this for X number of time or period or months, and I should have this.
Right.
Right. Now I'm tied into that expectation. And I know that Joe said specifically now with his music that when they do something, it is for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he still has the ability to create music and maintain relationships with his band members. But when he does it, it has to feel right and be right. And it's for fun.
Mm-hmm.
So he still has that piece in his life. But he is not tied to some outcome that he's, anticipating, or the band is anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it for the pure enjoyment and satisfaction, and the creativity.
Absolutely. So listeners, thank you so much for joining into our show tonight. We hope that you found a takeaway from this episode and can incorporate the mindset of this professional into your own life. If this was your first time listening, then thank you again for joining us. Please like us on Facebook at AllPro Mindset and follow us on Twitter at AllPro_Mindset. Next week, we will be speaking with Joseph Mitch. We will be discussing the path from addiction to recovery. Until next time, get out there and start living your life all in.